rates is something that's been on the top of my head, and I saw somewhere I read that there was going to be a shift coming Thursday.
Okay.
It was more specific, right, about dates, and I just put a post about it yesterday, saying something about rates are making a change on Thursday, and this would help people that are on the fence to buying a house, and perfect.
Yeah. So Thursday is 12/1. The big date that we have to pay attention to, let's stop and let's have you ask that in some form of a question.
Okay.
Just for the video purpose. So really just whenever you want to start talking, that's for him.
We've been recording though.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it helps him with sound and everything too.
Oh, okay.
So that's for him. So let's just, whatever that is, however you want to ask that, and there's no wrong or right way, let's just ask it in the form of a question, and then we'll just talk.
Okay, no pressure.
No, no pressure.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
You don't even have to count. Just when you talk. It's going to roll, and he's going to edit later.
Okay, so one of the questions that I get asked a lot on social media is, Marisol, when would I see rates go down to what they were before?
Okay, so it's going to take, it's a long process.
Okay.
And we already saw it start to play out a little bit this month, November 11th or 10th. We had a little bit of a decrease, and then it gained some of it back. And I think that that's probably going to be how we see the rates recover. I think you'll see a large decrease really quickly as soon as you start to get economic data, and then it might recover half of it or a third of it. And it'll just kind of like, it'll work itself down kind of like this. You'll have these peaks and valleys until we settle somewhere. Most economic people think it's going to be somewhere in the 5s. We don't know exactly where. We do think in 2023 we will see 5 something, which is encouraging. We're not going to see 3s. If we see 4s, it'll be high 4s. You might see 15 years drop into the 4s. We've seen that even somewhat recently, where you could get a 4.99 on a 15-year. So those things are coming. But every month we get a report called the CPI report, and that's basically the inflation index. And it has a lot of things that go into it, and the data kind of lags behind a little bit. And the next time we're going to get one is December 12th.
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
We get economic news all the time, but December 12th is when we're going to get that report, and it's going to be based off of November's numbers, and it compares this November to last November. So last November, October, November, December of last year is when inflation was going crazy, and they were saying that it wasn't a big deal, right? So those are huge numbers. So we expect this report and the one in January, which is really December's numbers, to be in our favor. So you should see rates recover a little bit, and then they might gain some of it back, but it'll still be lower than it is today. So today we're sitting maybe 6.6. We were as high as 7.3.
Yes.
And for some people that are buying second homes or investment properties, they're still up there and paying money to get interest rates, okay? But I think what you could see is 12.12. You could see 6.6 go to, who knows for sure, maybe 6.25, maybe it's 6.1, we don't know. And then it might retreat back to 6.3. And that's just going to be the pattern until it gets there. January is going to be a big one too, because you'll get the actual adjusted inflation numbers for housing, whether it be rent or just housing in general. That data lags behind about 6 months. Okay. So all the way through January, I think we'll get little bits of good news. There's going to be a pending recession, which we will go through, but that doesn't mean bad. Home prices have actually increased during most recessions. But recession doesn't mean a bad thing. It's a necessary evil to inflation. It's just part of it, right? So every time in the history of the Fed raising interest rates the way they have now, on the other side is a recession, which is the goal. I don't think people understand that. Like, they're trying to force a recession so that we can get balanced. We're trying to take money off the streets. There's too much money in the streets. So the easiest way to explain inflation is lots of money chasing very little goods. So when you have way more money than things to sell, the things to sell increase in price. So we got to get money off the streets. And the way to do that is make things more expensive and
Which we're seeing
go
that.
into a recession. So
Great
and
information. I love this, and this is just such a good way to explain it. Because I mean, I get asked that a lot, Marisol. What are you seeing? What is happening? And they're expecting my houses that I'm listing to be $40,000-$50,000 less, and it's not happening, Steven. It's not. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we're not in a market where I think you'll see that. We didn't even have, even though we had houses that were hyper competitive and going for over asking, we didn't have the same things that you had on the East and West Coast. We didn't have 200 over, 250 over sight unseen. We didn't have that. The people that we had that was overbidding were people coming from
Correct.
the West and East Coast and relocating, right? And they were paying, let's say, 10% over, 15% over. So it didn't get as crazy. And we had so much appreciation that most of that got gobbled up. So Texas being a pretty safe housing market, you might see it a little bit in like maybe metropolitan Austin or parts of northern Dallas or even parts of centralized Houston, Harris County, you could see it. But outside of those three concentrated areas, you're not going to see huge decreases unless we have a much bigger recession that's anticipated. Now, is it possible if we like go to war or something that could happen? Sure. But that's not something that we anticipate right now. But I think that something that's helpful for people is, you know, and especially for you serving clients that need economic data quickly, there's a lot of different ways you can explain inflation, but the simplest way to tell people is there's way more money chasing way less stuff. And until that balances out, we're going to continue to have inflation. So now that we're starting to see things be more expensive and you're starting to see less consumer spending, inflation will come down, which it has started to do.
Yeah, we see that Black Friday,
It has to
Cyber
happen.
Monday, it's all over the news.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And even the seasonal spending will still be high because money is still in the streets. And this is the first time goods are getting cheap again. Like September, October, everything's expensive. So if you put a 70-inch TV for $450, you're going to sell them all.
Correct.
Because all of them have been through the roof since then because of supply chain issues, right? So the quick little sales will show up, but it's seasonal spending, so it's already kind of baked in. Not really worried about that at all.
Have you done your shopping?
I am. So my kids are older now.
Change a little bit of subject.
Yeah.
Have you done?
Yeah. So my kids are 20, going to be 20 and going to be 15. So our shopping looks a little different now. It's less things at higher price tags. So yeah, I mean we're pretty much done. I have one more thing that I'm trying to decide as far as what I'm going to get for my wife, but yeah, it's pretty. We spend way more time and energy on our family outside of our household because they still have young kids and stuff like that. So we're pretty close. I'm not nervous about it. I've been in way worse spots as far as shopping goes, so not too bad. How about you? Turn it back around. How are you doing?
So we started shopping early.
Okay.
We asked the kids.
That's good.
We wanted to be smart about this time around. So I said, kids, give me a list of the things or items that are in your wish list. Let's go ahead and make Santa Claus a list, right? And then my son, he's 6. He's like, well, are you Santa Claus, Mom? So there it goes.
Yeah.
He doesn't. So that's that. We've done. There's plenty of presents. So we put up our tree. Okay, this is a little bit unnormal, I guess. We put our tree November 1st.
Nothing wrong with that. That's when I put my Christmas
I
lights
was
on.
so ready for Halloween to be done. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, the tree is going up. So immediately put presents under there. So we're close to being done. I'm a December baby, so the pressure's on my husband.
Yeah.
I was born December 21st, so
Okay.
he's like, I do not know what I'm gonna buy you. So it's always fun to see him,
No pressure.
Yeah, talk about pressure on his side, because I don't want to disappoint you, but I want to surprise you. So that's where we're at now. My kids are 6 and 13, so the 13-year-old's very different, and boy and a girl.
Okay. Which
So-
one's 13? The girl.
The girl.
Yeah.
So she's not
I'll
asking
pray
for
for you.
makeup. Thank you. She's not asking for makeup or anything like that. So I'm still okay.
Okay. That's coming.
Yeah,
13
I know.
is what? 8th grade? Yeah, that's
8th
coming
grade,
for sure.
yeah.
And junior high is the worst.
So she'll be going to high school in May,
Yeah.
or June.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready for that. Excited. And my boy, he's just, calm, serene. My girl is a whole different
Yeah, mine are opposite. My oldest is the girl. She's the calm one. My son is, he's not like crazy. He's just different. He's very outspoken, outgoing. There's something special about it. I just haven't figured it out yet. So I'm trying not to punish it out of him because he just has a really good personality, and he actually looks at people when he talks to them, and he doesn't mind shaking someone's hand, and it's not something that you see a lot in that generation. So I'm trying to like encourage it a little bit.
Yeah.
But with that, he's also very loud spoken and very opinionated, and it's difficult because, you know, you don't want to suppress it, but you still want them to be respectful. And it's very hard for them.
Same boat with my son. He goes to school and he lets his political views out from what he hears at home and stuff.
Okay.
And the teacher, he talks about religion, you know, it's something that he highly believes in. And if he believes in you know, in something, he's going to want to let the world know what he believes in.
Sure.
And that's where
Which is his right in this country.
Yeah, and I tell his teachers, I'm like, he's going to come in and he's probably going to surprise you because he's going to have a conversation that you're not used to having with a 6-year-old kid, you know, but just because what he hears at home, and he hears grown-up conversations as far as what our views and, you know, religion, political, whatever it is that we do believe in. So he's going to let you know how he feels about it, right?
Yeah.
So for open house and stuff like that, we always go in and we're like, hey, this is my son, but this is what you're getting yourself into. And the teachers end up loving him. Yeah. And they're saying he's special. Yeah,
because he has his own, he can make up his own mind. And I think kids, they like to just go with the flow. So when you have one that will make up their own mind and say no, I want to do it this way, that is special. And you got to figure out a way to teach them to harness it.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. And especially nowadays with everything being so different. And when I grew up, we didn't have any of this internet stuff, and now we're having to do this. Most of the information really comes from online, or how much time they spend on YouTube or these other platforms. I try to limit on the things that they do watch and consume, just because of how grown up they can be, you know.
They have access to everything.
So it's very difficult, and then just how people and consumers get their information from social media. A lot of the stuff I get TikTok sent to me with my clients, like, is this true? Is this really happening? And then from professionals that they're in other markets, not necessarily our market. And I had to explain to them, I said, it doesn't necessarily apply to our market. It applies to their market. Yeah, Dallas is, in Texas, but it's doing so much different than what we are doing here in Houston.
Sure.
Even Houston, if you go to Crosby,
you have submarkets.
So it's so wild. So
7-8 million people. The housing isn't the same in every area.
Yeah, Cypress, you know, everything else. So we sell everywhere, and there Marisol, you know, is this true? So it's important to see what we consume as grown-ups and what my kids consume too online. So get your facts, pretty much. Get them from the professionals. Get them from the people that you know and trust and believe. They're going to tell you the truth instead of the media sometimes.
What I have found, and I don't like listening to the news at all, to be honest, but there are very few people that will actually dig in to the financial reports and then figure out, like, how do markets normally react to a good or bad housing starts or mortgage applications, and then being able to kind of put that out on a graph and say, okay, so if these 4 things all trend this way, normally this is what the market does. And I think people would rather just repeat what someone else says, or take a guess at it, or listen to the news and then say what they heard yesterday, than really to dig into it and understand how markets move. You know, anybody can be right and anybody can be wrong.
Correct.
But it's whether or not you understand why you're right or wrong that separates a professional from someone that just wants to be online and get notoriety.
So a perfect example, I had a client closing a house 2019. Okay, so this is 2 years. We met. He said, we're buying a house. Next thing you know, the next day he calls me. He's like, I read the New York Times. I am not buying a house. The market's gonna crash, and I'm gonna be able to get this house for very cheap. So he bought. Okay, fast forward, he ended up buying the house, $199,000, brand new construction. I did comps to just to follow up with them. I did the comps. The house is selling now for $260,000.
Yeah.
So I called him and I said, hey, you know what your house is selling for now? And he says, no, but I can tell, I can tell it's more than what I bought it for. And I said, can you imagine if you would have stopped the process? We were in the middle of the process and you told me, Marisol, stop everything. I don't want to buy. But then, I'll give you your time, and I said, think about it, read where your effects are coming from, and then you have a home equity, and explain all the important things, the interest rates, and, just the data that what we were seeing, talking to you. We met at a class you taught at the market center, and I was able to use that. And I go back and I tell them, okay, that's fine, you can stop because it's your decision at the end of the day. And then he said, thank you for not letting me stop when I wanted to stop. And now I have my home. I have home equity, and I'm locked at a very good interest rate.
Yeah. New York Times doesn't give refunds. And, publications like that, they don't really have any recourse for being wrong. The goal is a headline or a story that makes you read it.
That clickbait, right?
They're looking for time spent on the website or subscription sales. So there's no accountability to when they're wrong, right?
And that's sad.
So, and that's all news, to be honest. So the difference is the accountability, if I'm wrong, is people don't use me anymore.
Correct. Reputation.
So if I go out, I'm outspoken about the market, and I'm very much, this is what I think will happen. But the caveat is I will say, if this, and this happens, and this is the days that this information's coming out, this will be the result. But if not, expect this. So I'm explaining to them how the market moves. And if you're not willing to do that and you're just going to say, well, I think they'll get better over the next 18 months. Well, of course they will. They can't go as high as they have and then not get better in the next 18 months. That doesn't tell me anything. But that's what people will say. They'll just say, oh, we expect improvement in the next 18 months. They're not willing to dig in and understand why. Or at what points. Like now through January, we should get some good news. The next big one after that is June.
Okay.
So we're going to have this spring where rates are going to settle somewhere based off of what the inflation news is for this fourth quarter, right?
Okay.
Then we're going to go through, let's say March, April, May, and then June is the next big one. So we'll kind of have hopefully some stability in the spring, unless we go into full recession, which is still fine. It could just drop them quicker. Because what happens in a recession is the Fed backtracks on raising the rates. And then what that does is it stimulates growth, because that rate, even though it affects mortgage rates some, they're not directly tied, but what it does affect is every builder that uses commercial lending to build homes, every time they raise that rate, all of the money that they borrowed goes up by that amount overnight. So it changes the way that they plan developments or commercial structures. For instance, if you're building, let's say I'm a developer and I'm building a commercial strip center and I'm going to offer it at $23 a square foot, right? There's a margin in there that I'm telling the bank I'm going to make. If the rate goes up 3%, I no longer have that margin. So my $8 million project is now worth $6 million. But I borrowed $6.5 million. So the Fed rate really affects that lending more than it does our lending.
Okay, cool.
So they're not directly tied. So ours doesn't move. Most of the time we've already baked in what's coming next. And then if it's not as aggressive, you'll see an improvement. Or if we start to think that the Fed is reversing course, you'll start to see an improvement. So if they just say, okay, we think we're there, we don't have to raise them anymore, just that can bring rates down significantly. The other thing is there's a spread between the 10-year Treasury, which is something that's loosely tied to mortgage-backed securities. Mortgage-backed securities is what we actually trade in mortgages, right? And people have to bid on those. And if they're willing to buy them, then we can do loans. So you can get to a situation when rates were going up so fast where people are like, nobody wants to buy them. Because if I buy this loan at 7% and 2 months from now it's 6.5%, I'm not going to be able to make enough money in the investment I put to buy that mortgage. So I'm not buying them. So then rates have to get somewhere where people will buy them.
Wow.
So there's a lot of factors. And everybody's biggest fear right now is that 6 months from now, every loan we're doing now, we're going to have to redo. And they won't be able to recover the money that they've invested in the loans we're doing right now. So they're paying lenders way less for the loans because they expect to not be able to recover that profitability. So some lenders are having to really jack their prices up. It's not their fault. It's just that we're not getting paid the same way for the loans that we were a year ago, because they're not expecting to be able to maintain long-term margins. If you have a lot of loans on your books right now at 4.5%, those are never getting refinanced.
Yeah.
They're just not. Unless someone falls on hard times and has to access their equity and they can't qualify for a separate home equity line of credit, that loan's going to be on your books forever. So it's very valuable. Even though people think, well, wouldn't you rather have a loan getting 6% interest? Not if I'm only going to have it a year. I'd rather have the loan at 4.5% forever.
It makes sense.
People don't understand that, though. It's way more valuable to the servicer to have a loan that will never be refinanced than to have one at a higher rate.
Wow, you opened my eyes. I'm just like taking it all in, and it's so eye-opening, and now I know a lot more just with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yep, it's crazy how things work. Sometimes it's the exact opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
You would think, well, people want to make a bunch of loans at 7%. Well, you never make the money back. Because as soon as there's a better rate, they're gone. So maybe you took 6 payments. Well, you never recouped the money it took you to buy the mortgage.
Wow.
That's why people like to use either the temporary buy down or an adjustable rate mortgage, because if you can get just enough lower than standard market, you can keep that loan long enough while the rates come down to where people won't refinance it. So then you can actually make your money back that you paid to get the loan. So in the example of the 2-1 buy down, it's attractive because if rates are 6.6 today, they get a 4.6 year one. They're not refinancing that.
Mm-mm.
Rates will not make it to 4.6 in the next year. So they know they're going to hold that loan a year. Second year is 5.6. 5.6, maybe, who knows? 24 months from now, maybe we're refinancing that. But you got 18 months out of it, so you didn't lose any money. So they like that loan. They don't like the current top of the market rate loan because it's assumed that that will not perform long enough to make their money back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speechless, and that's hard for me. You know me, I talk a lot. So for that, I was speechless.
Yeah. Well, it's just how the market works.
Wow.
You know, it's these people have all the money for a reason, and
True.
they're the ones that make the rules. So, if you are sitting on a portfolio of loans at 3, 4, 4.5%, it's worth its weight in gold right now. You could get yourself out of any economic issue that you had from a company standpoint if you chose to do servicing. Companies that choose not to do servicing have to be more creative right now because they don't have a way to substantiate losses on keeping rates low. So they have to increase rates higher.
So what you're saying and what I'm hearing is today is the best day to buy.
Every day is the best day to buy. Every day right now is the best day to buy because it's all relative, right? Higher rates means less competition, means more flexibility on list price, always. It's not 40,000, but if you can save just 10 grand on getting into the house, think about it like this. The difference between a 4.5% and a 6.5% rate on 300,000 is about $200. If I save 10 grand, think about it like it's in a savings account. I have $10,000 over here. If I take $200 a month, which is the difference in payment, every month from the 10 grand I saved and apply it to that mortgage, it takes 50 months to run out of money. The rates will be lower before 50 months. So buying now is actually the only way to make sure that you for sure win. Because when rates go back to 5, what do you think is going to happen? Prices are going to go up.
Competition.
More competition. So if you can get a house for, let's just say, $10,000 in seller concessions and list price, okay? So that's a $10,000 reduction. You got that money. Let's say the house is $400,000. Let's say a year from now that house is $410,000, rates are at 5, and you've got 5 people making offers. So maybe it goes for $425,000. That $35,000 at the lower interest rate takes you years to make back. Maybe 5, maybe 6 years. Most people don't even live in a house 5 or 6 years. So you literally cannot win waiting. It's just not possible. Absent an extreme economic collapse, you cannot win. And if you're banking on that, then good luck. Because I don't think it's happening.
Wow. That is phenomenal. That information that you bring and that you offer to the clients, and the clients that you've assist, of my clients that you've assist, they always have something good to say. They were like, he taught me so much, and you weren't straight to the point. You had facts, and you stood behind what you were saying. Like you said, no other headline or whatever, it's gonna stand back and say, like, you know what, we messed up. Because everybody was assuming that we were gonna crash 2021, 2020, that we're just gonna stop. Everybody was gonna stay away from real estate. And what happened? The opposite happened.
That's because people just don't understand what happens when money is cheap. If money is cheap, people borrow it, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a home and then you make it to where I can buy a beach house with a 2% rate, I'm going to buy the beach house.
Smart people.
Because I can already afford a home. Why wouldn't I buy a beach house at 2%?
Because you're smart.
Well, I understand. But it's not even about being smart. It's just about asking the right questions.
Correct.
When money gets cheap, people use it. Some of the richest people in this country pay no taxes. Do you know why they pay no taxes? Because all of their revenue is created through borrowed money. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Let's say I buy an apartment complex for $10 million, and let's say 5 years from now it's worth 20. If I borrow that $10 million, I got $10 million in my pocket. How much taxes did I pay on it? None, because it's debt. But who's servicing the debt? The tenants. So that's how people get away with not paying tax. They use debt to their advantage. So we've been telling the whole idea of you have to pay everything off and never have debt and never be leveraged because you never know what's coming is a way to keep people from being able to truly leverage debt when it's necessary to create financial wealth. Because real estate is one of the best investments you can make. So if you keep people from buying 5 or 6 homes and you tell them they have to put money in their 401k, then they have to work longer, they have to pay more taxes, they have to put more into the system. If you truly teach people the tricks to be able to make money now and to use debt to your advantage, debt's not a bad thing as long as it's serviced by a return, right? So if I buy something that has money coming in every month, that's different than if I just buy something that I have to pay out every month. Completely different. Like if I buy a car, I'm on the hook for that payment, right? But if I refinance that apartment building and use some of that cash to buy the car, the tenants are paying it, not me.
Don't buy liabilities.
No, always buy assets if you can. But it takes work to get there, so start small. I don't think people understand that a lot of people have equity in their house right now. They can take that equity and buy 10 properties. If you have $50,000 in equity in your house, you could probably buy 8 properties in the next 6 months. Take the equity out and buy the properties. Start an investment portfolio. Be able to retire. It's not hard to do. People can do it, but everybody's afraid of debt. Going back to the seatbelt story, I don't remember exactly who told me this, and hopefully one day I can remember because I need to give them credit for it because I say it a lot now. But someone once told me, it's one of the wisest things I've ever heard, is that if you are always honest, you never have to remember.
Oh my goodness.
Which is 100% true. Like, I don't have to remember what I told you if I always tell you the truth. So
I love that.
One of the biggest lies that we tell people is all debt is bad, right? So generally speaking, we talk about assets and liabilities, which is fine if you're building just a balance sheet. But when you look at debt, how is that debt paid? Is it paid by you, or is it paid by the asset? If the asset services the debt for you, then it's not a liability in the way that we frown upon liabilities, right? It's actually an asset that's servicing its own debt. So I think that if we could educate people that it's not just black and white. There's also this middle class of asset that has debt but services itself, pays for itself, and appreciates and grows in value and grows in equity and creates wealth for you. That's a different class that doesn't fit into the normal system of assets and liabilities, right? Because what they teach assets and liabilities is if you have something that has no lien on it, that's an asset. But if you have a lien, it's a liability. Now they're starting to teach if you have an asset, like let's say you buy a truck that's $60,000. It's the $60,000 plus here, and your loan for $58,000 is a negative, so it's worth $2,000. Okay, that's getting somewhere. But then who pays it? If I'm paying it, it's a liability. But if I buy a home, let's say it's a 4-unit, and the debt is completely serviced by the tenants, I don't care. The value is irrelevant to me because it's completely serviced. So it will continue to grow. The spread between what I owe and what it is worth will continue to grow. And then I can use that equity to use a new debt and get that money tax-free. Okay?
I bought my first house 2012, and I was so scared to buy my house. I mean, that's like something that I can relate to my clients. Is like, what are your fears? I mean, my fears were this, and I lay them out. I said, this is always fear of not being able to afford it because I was so used to paying rent. But when you take yourself out of that mentality of being a renter to a homeowner, something switches in your brain.
It does switch, and so for some people, it's you want more of it.
Yes.
And so many people think like, oh, I could never own 2 homes. Of course you can. Like, if you have the ability to save, you can buy 2 homes. It's just a matter of, do you understand how to do it? Do you understand how to, in the average American family, if you, over the span of 15 years, could help them acquire 4 more properties, their net worth at retirement is 20 times what it is if they just put money in their 401k. And we get to be a part of that.
Oh, I love that. I love their faces when it's like, hey, here's the key. And then they get to invite me to their homewarming or Christmas or Thanksgiving. They're like, Marisol, can you come over? Can you do this? And it's so gratifying just to go in there and see their home. It's like, I helped them get here. And it's it is so fulfilling, and you have to have a passion for it.
Sure.
And I got asked this question yesterday. I said, they asked me, are you staying active? And I said, staying active.
What other way is there to be?
And then I said, well, it's like, well, such and such and such and such. It was like about 5 names that were thrown at me. Well, they quit. They went back to got a regular job. And I said, well, instead of me going and getting, there's nothing wrong with people getting regular jobs. But for me, my passion is once I tasted that joy of seeing people getting homes and switching and seeing their post about their house and what they renovated and what they did, the color they changed, the new picture frame that they put up and stuff. And it's like, I helped them. There's a little piece of land in Texas that said Marisol Ortiz sold it.
Yeah, of course.
And to me, and it means a lot.
It should mean a lot, and people should be passionate about what they do. And if you got into it because you thought the getting was good, then it's probably time to exit. But, I don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah, it's like it's embedded in you. You answer the phone, and it's like, okay.
So I never have a backup plan, but I know how to get back to basics. And that's not a big deal for me. Like, I don't mind grinding it out. I'm not a great salesperson, but I am a very good executor. So as long as I have a plan, I can do all the stuff. If I got to make 20 calls and meet this many people and shake this many hands, I can do that every single day of the week. What I can't do is stand in front of you and convince you to use me, even when it might not be in your best interest. I'm not good at that. I will probably just tell you, yeah, we're not a good fit. It is what it is. I'm gonna call the next person and see if they're a good fit. Because I'm just not good. I'm just not a selling type of person.
or personalities, right? So it's happened where I said, you know what, I'm just gonna call in the next agent. It's gonna be perfect for you. It's gonna have the same attitude you have, same
But
drive.
that person will give you referrals.
Yes.
Because you did that for them.
Because I don't want to be just like the person that just takes. There's plenty of business
there's lots,
for everybody. Some people are like, oh, I don't accept realtors on my Facebook page. Oh, I don't accept realtors on my Instagram. I don't want that competition. There is really no competition if there's not within you. It's the only person that I compete against is me. What did I do yesterday that I can do better today? What is one thing that is getting me closer to the goal that I want? I mean, I have individual goals, like what I want with my family, what I want with my business, what I want with social media, what I want with whatever it is, like in my market center. So there's different goals, and then I just plan them. And then, how come you're not as someone said to me, how come you don't sell as much houses as the other person? And I said, well, when did I say I wanted to sell as many houses as that other person? You know, my goal to me looks very different to other people. So that's something that it's in this industry. I feel like we have that imposter syndrome where we want to be like the next person, right? So social media goes back to that. Well, they have the perfect life. I want to be like that. I want to be, if you consume yourself, and that goes back to, again, consuming or getting in our head what we consume, right? It's like, you can never be like the next person because that's not you.
Not you.
My parents always said, if you can be anything in this world,
be
you. Why would you want to copy or be a cheap copy of someone else? You know, and in this industry, I feel like there's so many ways to succeed. There's so many ways to pop, to shine, that only the strong will survive, and we're here for it.
Oh, yeah. Nope, I couldn't agree more. I actually love when the markets are crazy. Let me ask you, shifting gears a little bit, even though all that is fine, and I think it's good to have your own goals, vision, etc., but are you competitive? Like, are you competitive at all? Do you have a competitive...
Yes.
I feel like it's there.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So even though it's your own goals, like, there has to still be something where you're like, well, I still want to beat you.
Oh, and I do.
I just want to... my goals are more important. I just want to beat you.
Oh, so every listing that I've gone to, I've taken.
Okay.
When there's 3 or 4, when I know that there's 3 or 4 agents that have interviewed before me, I know I gotta go in there.
You just sit in the car and you're like, all right,
that's it.
I'm winning this one.
That's it. That's exactly how I go in with the attitude that you interview 3 or 4 people, they give their spiel. Sometimes they show me what the agents left behind, and I said, I really don't care to see that. That's an individual's work, because we do work for our information and stuff like that, or printouts or whatever. So I said, you know what, that's that individual, but this is me. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to impress you with this. I'm just gonna impress you with my work.
Yeah, it's not show.
It's not a show.
Here's what I'm going to do for you.
And this is, I take out my history of sales and days in the market and reviews, and I say, this speaks for itself. I mean, are you going to be the smart person to hire me, or the next neighbor is going to be the one smart to hire me? I mean, it just depends what you want to do. And then, I mean, it sounds a little bit cocky sometimes,
but for them, it can be confidence, right? Like, I'm going to sell this house. I am the right fit for you. You do need to hire me. And if you don't understand that, I'll go to the next person. Which, I don't think that... I think it's a fine line, but I think confidence is super necessary. My confidence comes from data and knowledge, because my confidence doesn't come from, I'm going to be the most charismatic person that can just market like an animal. That isn't where it comes from. Mine comes from the other stuff. But as far as competitiveness is, one of the things I have learned to do, because I'm now 40, is not let my fierce competitiveness show to everyone. So I keep it to myself a lot. But one thing I've talked about in these videos before is I am exactly what you think I am. Like, I really do want everyone to succeed.
course.
I know a lot of people that are lenders that don't work for me, with me, whatever you want to call it. I want them to win. I am happy for them when they win, but I still want to beat them every day at everything all the time.
Yeah.
Always. And I don't want to lose ever. And I can't control that. Now, I cannot be boastful about it, and if they beat me, I am happy for them, but all that means is I'm going to work way harder. So
True.
I am fiercely competitive when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. I just want to win. You know what I mean? Like, and it can be the smallest thing ever, and I still want to win.
It reminds me of that time that I won the Christmas tickets at our market center. We needed to dance, and what needed to bring it up a notch. And I got on top of a table. I was a new agent. I think
And you won the tickets.
2-3 weeks in, and it was a full cafeteria full of people.
And you won.
And I won the 2 tickets. I
Mm-hmm.
saved myself $80. So if I can save myself $80, and that's what I take to my clients. If I'm on the selling side, don't want to leave anything on the table. If I'm in the buying side, I want to take all the money. You know, so it's pretty much what I use.
Yeah, but what it does do, that type of competitiveness, what I've learned over the years of it being too much in business, is it's allowed me to look at certain aspects of our side of the business and say, I'm going to be the best at those. We're going to communicate the best. We're going to perform the best. We're going to have very attractive pricing. We're going to be the best partners to our lenders, to our realtors. So we just have these 5 or 6 things, and those we always want to win at. And as long as we're doing those things, everything else works. So it doesn't have to be like XYZ lender, I want to beat your production. It's like, no, I want to have the best reputation. We want to be the most knowledgeable. We want to be the best partners. We want to serve our community the most. So if we focus on those things from a competitive nature, I'm able to tame it a little bit. But it makes me happy when we win.
Of course.
And it also pushes us to always improve.
Absolutely.
Because if anybody's gaining ground on us, it's because we're not being innovative and we're not improving. And the enemy of all progress is, being comfortable.
Complacent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Complacency is the enemy of all progress. If you are comfortable, you are losing.
I needed to hear that today.
That's true.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. And sometimes we're so busy with, we've been busy, but we're confusing busyness with actually doing business.
Sure.
And that happens a lot of in my industry or in our industry. I don't know if it happens to you, but 2 years in, and I still feel that sometimes if my phone rings. Yesterday, my phone was ringing from it was 8 in the morning, and I had meetings all day long. So by the time I realized, I said, oh my goodness, I didn't lead gen. I didn't. It was like, oh my goodness, and that has to be done.
So do you just do it right then and there?
So.
Or do you do it twice as much tomorrow? Like, what do you do when that happens?
When that happened, I woke up this morning and I said, I gotta communicate with those people that I did not communicate yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I moved it and deleted all the non-real estate things that I had for this morning, and I said I got to tackle what needs to be done. And I sent my friends notes like, hey, don't text me from this time to this time. I would not answer the phone because I'm doing real estate stuff. Because they think, well, you're a realtor, you just have your own schedule. Yeah. And that's the thing that I don't want people to know, that, or people to think that because we have our own schedule, it means that we can do whatever we want.
It's actually a curse. Having your own schedule is a curse. No one's going to tell you to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not a punishment.
It's the exact opposite.
It's a good way to track see what City of Houston Boyle noticed. So our kids were at home. Yesterday I'm on the phone with the builder, my client, and I can hear my son coming in and opening the doors and stuff. And I did excuse myself. I said, hey, I'm not sorry for my kid, but I'm sorry for the noise that he's making.
Sure.
Because I never want to be sorry for my kids. My kids come first. Family. God, family, and business, right?
First of all, it's a builder. Like, you build homes for families, so what are you worried about?
Yeah, I said, my kids in the back, I'm sorry. Called my client, and I said, Again, I'm sorry for the noise, but I'm not sorry for my kid.
Sure, yeah.
So, and they appreciate that because there are expectations that I set up front whenever we meet with them again. I said, hey, are we going to do this? We're going to do this together, but I do have kids. It goes back to the family, having our own business, having our own schedule, but you are a priority to me,
100%.
of course.
Yeah.
But again, if my kid comes out of school at 3, I got to be at the pickup line at 3.
Yeah, I don't miss anything. Like, I don't miss anything for my kids, ever. Like, if I miss something, they would think something bad happened to me. So, in that, one, it's just, what are you prioritizing, obviously. So, like you said, faith, family, and then work. But I just think that, a little thing that I've never said in these interviews, but I'll say it now, because if I'm saying it, you obviously must need to hear it. So I'm just going to take this direction and do it. But I do give myself at least one day a month where if I come in and by noon everything is just going not correct, I will write down everything I didn't finish and I will leave. And I'm done. Like, I'm calling it for the day. And I'll go home and I'll focus on family and I will rest and I will prepare for a better tomorrow. But I do give myself one a month where it's like, this is just a shit show. Like, I'm out of here. I will come back tomorrow and I will be better. But it is not happening today. And you have to be able to give yourself the ability to do that. We're always so hard on ourselves and we're our biggest critic and we don't give ourselves any room for error, when in actuality, if you would acknowledge the fact that you have error and you make mistakes and today sucks and you just let yourself blow that off and come back to it tomorrow, you'd be surprised how much better the next day is.
Oh, yeah.
But I give myself one a month. If it's just, nope, see ya. Hey, guys, it's 12. I'm leaving. I'll be back tomorrow. See ya. If you need me, email me. Not happening today.
There's no such thing as an emergency in real estate.
Well, to some people there is, right? But in a 30-day contract, do you know how long 7 days is? Like, I can do the entire process in 7 days. So if I need 4 hours, don't blow me up.
I had an agent call me at midnight.
That's unacceptable.
I texted the next morning and I said, I am, she could have taken it however she wanted it. I said, I do not work past 9.
If you text me at 10, I'm replying at 4 in the morning.
And I said, I will not answer my phone at midnight. There's nothing. Lenders are asleep. Inspections are not happening. My sellers are asleep.
Yeah, I'm not presenting any amendments to them. Like, nothing's happening.
At midnight. Oh no, but you this, you that, you must be new in the business. Like, I love that. You must be new in the business. You must not know how this works. You must not this. I said no, because I'm new in the business and I learned to set my boundaries early enough in the industry. I had great coaches. Jenny Vaughn is one of them, and shout out to her.
Boundaries are huge.
Boundaries, you got to learn them when you first begin doing your business. You either run your business or your business runs you.
Yeah.
And that pretty much narrows down to what type of business would you have? Are you going to have a long business or are you going to have a short career? And I want to have a long business, in this industry. And she goes, if you don't set your boundaries, your schedule, your time with your family and stuff like that, no one's going to teach you that. No one's going to bet that in you.
And that's the way you burn out.
Yeah.
Like, when you see agents or lenders or anyone burn out, it's because they have no boundaries.
Say no.
They work all the time, no matter what, answer every call, every text, doesn't matter what time of night it is. And you can do that for a certain amount of time. But if you don't go back and set some boundaries, or if you don't try to have them up front, and they're not unreasonable.
No.
Like, if I tell a client, like, hey, if it's after 6:30, just text it, right? I'm probably not going to answer, but I have it. And then the next day, I'm all over it.
Same
Family
thing.
is super important to me, right?
Yes.
I'm never going to call you while you're at dinner. If your appraisal comes in 10,000 low, why would I interrupt your dinner and spoil your entire evening? I would rather you get up the next day, brush your teeth, have a shower, kiss your spouse goodbye, drop your kids off, and then tell you your appraisal came in low? Why would I ruin your entire night with your family? It makes no sense.
I'll probably be crying all night long.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, just thinking about it from that aspect, like.
Yeah. See, I had a client. He worked refinery 7/12s.
Yeah, so that's hard.
So with him, I did it. I met him at the office. He's like, hey Marisol, I'm gonna be available at 8:40 at night. I told my husband, I said, hey hon, at 8:40 we had to be there at the office because he needs these documents and he needed help with online stuff or whatever. I said, don't worry, I'll meet you there. Stuff like that I'll do.
But
right?
but again, that's expectations. He told you this is my time frame, and you said I'll be able to meet you, and you probably had to do it twice or 3 times.
Yes, I did it 3 times.
Because you made the most of it when that happened.
Saturday morning, we met because he needed to scan documents. He didn't know how to do it through his phone. So don't worry about it. We met. It was 7:30 on a Saturday. That's usually when my husband's like, hey, let's go get breakfast.
Yeah.
But I said, hey, honey, we're going to go ahead and do this. And then for that, that's my passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes in. And I'm like, I'm grateful that I get to do this for them.
Let's not work at that point.
No. It felt like I'm
It's
helping
serving.
a family. Yes.
It's serving someone.
And they're like, oh, you're doing that for me. I said, absolutely, I would do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. We got it. You know, negotiated. No problem. Let's do it. It means me getting less commission. He said it. You're negotiating the sales price on a not brand new construction. I said, I sure did that. Why? If your sales agent told me you're getting less commission because you negotiated the sales price. I said, it doesn't matter to me at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's what my client's getting. And if it's getting something, he's getting something. He saw that I fought for him. That's why he hired me. Because I would have done that with the resale home. Why not do it with the new construction?
It'll always come back to you too. Always. It always pays to do the right thing. All the time. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it costs you money. As long as you always do the right thing. It's just like the lying thing, right? If you always tell the truth, you never have to remember. If you always do the right thing, you never have to worry about your reputation, ever.
Yeah.
It's such a simple concept, and just so many people don't understand it because it's not the quick way, right? The speed is in, minor acts of deception or half-truths or this or the gotcha stuff. That's where speed comes in, right, in growing your business. But to do it the right way, it's always a commitment to doing the right thing and a commitment to always being honest. You will build your business over a longer period of time, but you will not burn out, and you will have what I believe is a business that is worth more. Because the people that are inside of that business are going to be the people just like you. Yeah. If you aren't yourself, or if you are trying to be someone else, you're going to attract the people that should be working with them. And then your book of business, to me, is worth less. Yeah.
And I'm who I am in social media and who I am in real person. And they're like, you're just as crazy on social media as how you are in real person.
And I am just as calm in social media as I am in person. Like, I'm just not, I do get fired up about veterans.
Oh my goodness,
and
yes,
I do get fired up about certain things. But for the most part, I'm just, I'm not super excitable. We're opposite personalities, but we both have a passion to serve people. And I think that's what's incredible about our business, because someone that has a completely different personality like you and a completely different personality like me can come together and serve one person with a common goal in mind and feel really good about it at the end of the day. And I don't know too many other industries where you can do that.
No. This is why I always say this. I didn't choose this industry. This industry chose me.
No one chooses it.
It just came to me. It was something that I always thought I was going to do, and it was so funny. I started to take my classes when I was 22, 23. I didn't get my license till I was 29, 30. So it all happened for a reason. I'm not sure why it took so long. God had other plans for me, and I went through life, whatever, and then one day I woke up. It was in May. I woke up, I sent a text message to my husband. I said, you know what, I got like that fire you know, that I was in the back burner, and then something came in me, and it's like, okay, you gotta go do it. You gotta go help people.
The thing I love about real estate is it is a lot of people's second career, and I've seen a lot of people have extremely successful second careers, and the common denominator between all of them is what they took in experience from their first career and brought it here.
Yep.
Like I interviewed someone that was a nurse in their first career, very nurturing, right? The way they approach real estate is very much like they approached nursing, right? Lots of checklists, got to be perfect, all about caring for the person. Like you just see people come into this as a second career, and they take that lifetime of the first careers, you know, the things that they've learned and examples of situations that they've had with people and how they've had to interact with customers, and they bring that energy and apply it to real estate, and you get this whole new experience that no other agent has. So I think second career agents can have a huge benefit over first career agents, in my opinion, because you're bringing something to the table that a person that has only done real estate won't have. So
Yeah.
just something to think about.
No, it just came back, all the jobs that I had, and I always succeeded.
Something from that permeates into what you're doing now.
Yeah, everything.
It has to.
It always, my first job was a leasing specialist at apartment complex. Then I moved on to loans and became manager there. I moved on to a bank. I went straight to being a personal banker. People usually start as being a teller. I skipped. I went straight to banking, and then I took a time off to have my son, 4 years, and my son's 4 now, going to school. My husband's like, okay, and then I'm like, I'm ready to feel that fulfillment. Now my job as a mom, in that phase, was kind of like at a still, like there was no more excitement. He's going to school, whatever. Now what's in it for me? So as a woman, I said I need to feel that fulfillment more than, and now I feel that, right? So, and I do use that door knocking. I got hired for a listing actually because he saw me door knocking on heels, and he said, "You're the only one." And he's still military. He's actually based on. I sold his house because he moved to California. His wife's on a vessel around the world. I mean, they're an incredible family. So he said the only reason he hired me was because he saw me door knocking with heels. He's like, I've never seen my other realtor. He's like, I'm not saying anything bad, but I would have never seen her do that.
Sure.
What you've done.
Yeah.
And then because of that listing, I got a listing next door, and because of that listing, I would just sign a listing agreement with his mom on the same street, but a different side of whatever, same subdivision. And because of that listing, I got 3.
Yeah.
Because I was wearing heels while door knocking.
Well, and even more, strip it back even further, you were doing the fundamentals.
Yep.
You were practicing the fundamentals, and you got a huge payoff from it. And sometimes agents can feel like they've gotten past the fundamentals, and that is a very big trap.
I've seen biggest or top producing agents. They go back to the fundamentals when they feel door knocking.
Yeah, it's because they know. They know, like, hey, market's turning. Got to get back to this. Got to do more of this. Got to spend more of my time doing these things. Yeah. The reason they weren't doing them before is because the pipeline of business kept them busy enough to not do it. But as that dries up, your time goes back to here. It just has to be that. And maybe some of them just have to live a cycle first. But if you haven't been through one, just work through it. Just work the entire time, no matter what. This is
my first shift.
Just continue to work through it. As long as you just continue to work through it, you're going to accumulate a database of contacts and people that are going to need you at each point of the recovery. And then those will be your transactions. I don't mean to make it sound simple, but you just got to put in the work.
Yeah, but you just got to put in the work.
We good? I think that's good.
Lots of gems.
Okay. You're mentally cutting?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You mentally cutting in your head?
I take notes as well.
Okay.
Okay, was it good?
It was great. Yeah, honestly, I feel like I